Welcome everyone to Thursday, March 27th. This is Alex Volkov. I'm an AI evangelist with Weights and Biases, and we're off. Today is going to be a great show. We have so much to talk about. We have a few great guests coming on as well, and just an insane week in AI happened this week. And to help me talk through it, I have my co-host here, Wolfram, and we're going to have Niten join us in a bit. Wolfram, we don't often get weeks this insane.
Oh yeah.
We often do, but like not crazy often. Like I don't remember a week quite this intense where in one day Sam Altman again said, "Hey, Google's about to release something incredible. Let me release something incredible as well." So everybody talks only about this. So we've had this happen a couple of times for us, and this week was insane. What was your top favorite, let's say, from this week?
Yeah, the OpenAI announcement about supporting MCP, that is probably one which has the biggest impact, what that means for AI usage and making AI more useful. So that was a big highlight. And I hope Anthropic will use the OpenAI API so we have more standardization. That would be nice if they can.
Yeah.
And there has been so much going on in the image space, image generation space. I mean, our avatars here should be Studio Ghibli, I think, to fit the theme. People are not used to seeing real people anymore, I guess. So,
yeah,
so
I
much
think a filter of reality is coming for sure. And at least that's how my feed looks like. We're definitely going to talk about this as well. But I loved the fact that you opened with the MCP support, because I don't think that for many people, besides us who are MCP'd already, this makes sense what you said. And we have to talk about this. We absolutely have to talk about this, because this will come for people faster than they think. I agree with you. Including the announcement of the image generation, including the announcement of Gemini 2.5, I think OpenAI's support of the open protocol of agent communication called MCP, this could be one of the more exciting kind of like hidden things from this week.
The impact long term. And V3, of course, the new DeepSeek doing it again. The best non-reasoning model that you can run locally. I personally can't run it. It's too big for my system, unfortunately, but I've used it for the API.
653 billion parameters too big for your system? Okay.
Even the 1-bit quantized version, I tried it. It should fit in the RAM and VRAM combined, but it didn't. So I still have to look into that some more.
So
Gemini, like you mentioned.
So let's run to a TLDR. We kind of already did, but let's do it like we do in an organized way, and then we can dive in. We also have a guest that's joining us very soon from the Google Gemini team to talk about the Gemini 2.5, which is awesome. And then we also have a few guests down the line, a few surprises for you guys, so it's worth sticking around. I will just say before we get started with the TLDR that, as always, this is most of us' favorite time of the week. It's Thursday. You're on Thursday. Again, for those of you who couldn't hear me, there was like a little bit of a microphone issue before. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm an AI evangelist with Weights and Biases. I'm the host for Thursday for the past 2+ years. We can say 2+ now, because we just celebrated our birthday a couple of weeks ago. With me, I have Wolfram Raven here as my co-host, and we also have Yam Peleg joining us. What's up, Yam? Welcome. How are you? Let's do a quick mic check with you. Super quick.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. I hear myself from you, so there's a little bit of feedback, so we'll take care of that, and we'll continue. So with this, we will say today was an insane week, and we have a few guests coming to talk about how insane. Let's jump into the TLDR, because time is of the essence today. Well, every Thursday, but specifically this week. So let's take a look at what we have. I had this like opening image for us. For folks who are not seeing this, let me actually go and pin the live stream for you guys so you can join. This week is going to be a very visual one. Okay, so if you're listening on the space, that's great. But if you probably would like to jump into the video, so pin to the top of the space is the video as well. For some of it, you don't have to do it for all of it. We'll let you know like when the visual part comes. But I can describe already. A very funny meme that I saw, and just like memes on memes this week, folks. So let's run through like the insane week that we had. We're gonna start with big companies and APIs this time, not only because we're gonna have a guest from Google joining us very soon, but also because I think that it kind of went quiet a little bit under the scene, because OpenAI succeeded in a very visual form to kind of take a little bit away of the excitement, but they shouldn't fully. There's the huge thing this week. Google reclaims the #1 position with Gemini 2.5 Pro. It's a thinking model. It's an incredible model. And really like across the board, every eval, including style control, like everywhere, everybody that we've talked to, coding wise, speed wise, is just unbelievably incredible. They stopped calling it thinking. We're gonna ask why very soon. But basically, Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro is now the absolute latest state of the art in the world of AI, and folks who haven't tried it and have a tendency to go to OpenAI by default should absolutely go and try this. So we'll definitely dive in deeper and talk about kind of the evals and talk about why it's so successful. We'll have an interview very soon. There's also one thing that's kind of big company or foundation lab related. You guys know that when O3 came out, or at least was announced, the bigger thing, the biggest evals they kind of presented, everybody was shocked, is ArcAGI 2. Sorry, ArcAGI, the kind of the Franco Chalet test for AGI, and that bet O3 supposedly beat that at 87%, which is above human level. ArcAGI announced their second version. Base LLMs with no thinking get 0% accuracy. Supposedly those are tasks that are easy for humans to do and hard for LLMs. And the thinking models right now get 4%. So this is yet another hill to climb, yet another uncharted territory for LLMs and thinking models. So very exciting. In open source this week, we have the whale bros silently just drop on Hugging Face DeepSeek v3, which is basically the kind of the base model before the thinking RL happened on top and got us to R1. DeepSeek v3, which should be big news, but for some reason R1 broke through the barrier. DeepSeek v3 was updated with 0.324. It's 685 billion parameters. It's insane. It's insanely huge. It's an MOE. So we're going to chat about this. There's a few updates there. Very interesting. Very big update from a silent team that just ships and doesn't do big splashes. Also, our friends from Qwen launched a super cool new thing that Wolfram, I'm dying to talk to you about this. Qwen launches Omni 7B, which is a model that understands voice and video natively and also outputs text and voice. So I understands all three modalities and outputs text and voice. When I hear Omni now, I expect image generation. So Qwen, next one, I would like it to also draw myself as Ghibli. But I'm just kidding. Qwen launches 7B Omni. It's a 7 billion model. And if you look inside, for some reason, it's 11 billion. I saw this meme and we would love to chat about this. So shout out to our friends at Qwen. In AI, art, and diffusion, an absolute explosion of creativity and just world-changing things happened in AI, art, and diffusion. And I added this thing. Well, AI, art, and diffusion was the category generally, but I also added auto-regression as well. Why? Because, well, OpenAI launched native image support for GPT-40, and that is not diffusion models anymore. We're used to diffusion models, the models that kind of take an image and kind of from blur, make it into an image. And then Grok launched Aurora, if you guys remember, and that was an auto-regressive model as well. That kind of generates things from the top to bottom, and you kind of see the progression. Kind of reminds me of GIFs loading a long time ago. Wolfram, you probably remember. Yeah, you probably remember GIFs used to load like this also progressively.
We have this confirmed? Yes. We know? Yes. Okay. Great.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that we have a confirmation of this, and I'll try to find the source for this for sure. So thanks for checking me. I still get a little bit of feedback from yourself. I hear myself. So auto-regression, and that's why it kind of generates kind of slowly like this. So OpenAI launched their thing. We're going to talk about the Ghiblification of the open web, absolutely. We also saw Reve, which is another... That, I think, is diffusion, another state-of-the-art model that just kind of absolutely crushed benchmarks across artificial analysis and a bunch of others. It was hidden and kind of anonymous before, and then they kind of ta-da, we're Reve, and the text generation there is crazy. Though I would say we would probably be as excited about Reve right now had OpenAI did not come out with image generation that you can talk to. And also, not to mention another one, Ideogram, which we've talked about multiple times on the show, also great for, I don't know, logo generation and prompt adherence and realism. They launched Ideogram 3, which they also claim state-of-the-art. Folks, so we literally have 3 image adjacent things to use and try to figure out which was the state of the art. None of them compared to each other. I looked like Reve didn't compare to a diagram didn't compare to Reve, and then OpenAI just like didn't compare to anyone. They're just like, ta-da, we have a thing. In this week's buzz, I added a plus here, and also you'll see this plus in multiple places. In this week's buzz, I added this week's buzz plus MCP. We'll have Morgan, who was supposed to come last week, and we just needed to do a little bit more work. Hopefully Morgan will join us and talk about Weave official MCP tool that we've launched that you can use if you use Weave, and you can just like chat with the thing, and it will go and actually get you the right information using MCP. So we'll chat more with Morgan about MCP and MCP importance for weights and biases as well. And also in MCP news, this Wolfram mentioned in the beginning of the show, and I found that like to be one of the more incredible under the current thing. OpenAI has added support for MCP, which is huge, folks. It's huge because everybody was worried that Anthropic is coming up with their own standard, and here will come like Sam Altman and does another standard. And no, they just said, not only do we support it, here's support for Agents SDK, and also we will add MCP support to ChatGPT. Wolfram, I cannot like wait to talk about this, how exciting I am about this thing as well. Voice mode was updated. And I think that's basically what we're going to talk about. And to help us talk about this, we have a guest today. So we will rejoin now, and I will introduce the guest to talk about Gemini 2.5 because this is how we're going to get started with the show. So in order to do that, I want to introduce Tulsee Doshi to the stage. We have a guest today. And I think, Tulsee, I'm getting some feedback from you, maybe from the Twitter page side. So if you could put that on mute, and we will introduce Tulsee to the stage. This is how we're going to get started with the show. So in order to do that, I want to introduce Tulsee Doshi to the stage. We are having a little bit of an echo, and I think we're done. A guest today, so... No, I think we're going to wait for Tulsee, you can mute the other tab if that works. Yeah? Okay, we're good? 1 second.
Should be good.
Yes, we're good. Awesome.
Okay.
Welcome, Tulsee, to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
And this is your first time here, so we'll ask you to introduce yourself. But also, I want to just tell people the reason why you're here. And the reason why you're here is because you guys launched Gemini 2.5, and it's incredible. And I want to hear from you directly, like, how did you get from 2 to 2.5 this quick? But please, let's start with maybe introduction first, and then we're gonna go and talk about the kind of the incredible stuff that you launched.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me. So I'm Tulsee. I lead the product team for our Gemini modeling efforts here at Google. And so get the pleasure of working with a number of amazing researchers and engineers to make 2.5 Pro and our other Gemini launches happen.
That's awesome. So welcome to the show. Welcome to thursdai. We kind of chat about these models all the time, and we've been tracking Gemini's progress since Gemini like released in the beginning. And then we're very excited that Google kind of like got Gnome back, and then the thinking process started, and we were very excited to see the kind of the upcoming of inference time compute. And this is probably let's talk about basically Gemini as a release. Gemini 2.5 released. It's a thinking model. It's the flagship Gemini 2.5 Pro, I must mention, because there's Flash versions, there's like a bunch of other stuff, and it shot up to the top of the charts pretty much everywhere. I don't think I've seen a I don't think I've seen a eval that it didn't crush. LM Arena, and I saw I'm forgetting this. I don't want to look it up. LM Arena absolutely crushed it on and jumped on all categories, including style control. How is it so good? Can you give us a little bit of the kind of the understanding of like what did you guys do to get it like so good?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, very excited about its performance. And to your point, I think doing well on LM Arena and kind of human preference areas, but also we're seeing it perform really well on academic benchmarks like AIME or GPQA, which measure like math reasoning, STEM reasoning, humanities last exam, leaderboards like LiveBench. And so it's been really cool to kind of see the model perform well in both the human preference dimension and the more academic kind of reasoning performance dimension as well. And I think actually we attribute a lot of the success here to kind of actually thinking through the model end to end full stack. So this is a combination of both pre-training improvements, so really the actual base model itself becoming stronger, but then also translating that to post-training and then, as you noted earlier, inference time as well. And so it's really the combination of all three of these things coming together kind of across the board that has really pushed the performance here. And that's part of what makes it so exciting, I think, is that it is both showing the value of thinking, but also showing the value of having a strong model to build that on top of.
LiveBench is the one that I was like blanking on, so thank you for bringing LiveBench back up. LiveBench is super cool, and they keep going updated. The one thing that I noticed of LiveBench, and I want to like highlight this specifically on the show, there's multiple models with performances on different benchmarks, but the thing that most people don't necessarily talk about is how those models perform in long context. And this is like one thing I really wanted to highlight, because it's absolutely incredible. The Gemini 2.5 Pro, it's kind of in the middle here, has 100% like performance for the first 400, 1,000 tokens, 2,000 tokens. But then it gets like incredible performance. There's a little bit of a drop, an interesting drop here at 16K, but generally there's like at 120K, this model gets like 90% performance on other benchmarks. Whereas we see models drop to almost like 30% of the original performance, which is incredible. Obviously, 120 is like nothing. Like we're talking about 1 million context windows right now. Could you talk about kind of the long context performance? Because I think that there's a lot of benefits to using Gemini models, but definitely one that I can point to directly and say, hey, this is the one. Look, 1 million context is incredible. We can just throw anything at this model, but with this performance across long context, it's even more incredible. Could you speak about like the long context and how you guys think about this?
Yeah. No, actually, I think I'm really glad you asked, actually, because long context for us is, I think, a really key value proposition of the models. And to your point, we're actually very proud of the 1 million long context window. And so 120K is a step in that direction. But a lot of what we think about is when you actually want to, let's say, have an amazing model for code. What long context actually allows you to do is think more holistically about, you could literally throw in an entire repo, right, and ask questions and actually build on top of it. If you're someone who has a set of financial documents, right, you can actually bring in a large volume of documents. If you're looking at research papers, if you're also just even trying to introduce your own personal context, long context just gives you so much more flexibility in how to use the model. And so a big push for us has been, how do we improve the performance there? And that has been a big push, again, to my point of kind of thinking through these things from pre-training all the way to inference. Actually making sure that the base model has the capabilities here, I think, has been the critical piece.
I want to talk about the naming. Okay, we've had before, and I really like. I'm interested in like how you guys are thinking about this, right? I don't think that naming is the strong side of any foundational lab right now. Like, there's a bunch of drop-down pickers people like have to select between. Don't let me get started about the open source, which you cover a lot, and then open source, like the naming is like all over the place. If you like fine tune from Llama, you have to add Llama to your thing. There's like a bunch of stuff, including a billion parameters. Gemini, we had Gemini Flash, and then we had Gemini Pro. All of them are adding like the experimental stuff. And then we had Gemini Flash Thinking Experimental, which is kind of the first model that was trained with RL to do like chain of thought built in, etc., and do kind of the thinking process. And now we have Gemini 2.5 Pro, not thinking, just like 2.5 Pro, but it is thinking. So a few questions here. One of them is kind of like how you guys decide on naming. Is thinking matured enough so people kind of expect this from the main model, so you don't have to mention this? But also, will there be like two lines of models, like one with RL and specifically with chain of thought built in, and the other one is like the more standard one? Or are you guys seeing a convergence? Is this model a hybrid model? All of these questions, please pick the one that like most.
No. It's a great question. Fair to ask us about naming. I think that's a great question. So maybe I'll kind of speak to two separate things. One is your question around kind of thinking and what does the fact that we're calling this 2.5 Pro and not Pro Thinking signify? And I think you really hit the nail on the head here, which is really our goal, Alex, is to actually have our mainline models be thinking models, right? And so what you're seeing here with calling this Gemini 2.5 Pro is a step in the direction of saying, hey, thinking is actually a part of the models, right? It should be something that actually the models should be able to leverage thinking and leverage inference time when it is necessary to get to the best possible answer for the question. And that's kind of the direction of travel that we're moving in. And so with Flash Thinking, when we released that earlier in December, it was really our first step at trying to get a sense of what do developers and customers and users kind of across the board, what are they looking for with thinking models, right? What kinds of prompts are they trying? Where is it useful? how do we put something out that really gets kind of feedback and also just allows folks to try playing with inference time compute. And I think now, as we've learned from that and built on top of it, we're now able to your point, bring that back into kind of the mainline set of models as a part of the main developer experience. And so that's something I think we're really excited about. And that's part of the naming shift also to then the next point of like, why 2.5, right? A big part of that about that shift is not just the step in performance change with the models from the 2.0 series, which is obviously massive, but it's also a kind of new series of models where thinking is a core property of the models. And that's also partly what 2.5 signifies to.
So my question here is, especially for you guys kind of thinking about this, to which tasks do you guys already get an understanding, internal understanding, and now with like users out there talking back to you, which tasks thinking is kind of like beneficial for? And I really want to hear the failure cases as well. I would love to know, because I know of some failure cases that I've tested around that like thinking maybe tends to overthink for some like creative writing, for example, we've seen. Would love to hear from you kind of like how you guys are seeing the thinking applicable to and to which domains. Like give our users or listeners a little bit of a kind of a hint about where to apply kind of the thinking stuff, where to go to a different model, but potentially.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think thinking is particularly useful for example, code, right? And I think it's really useful for anywhere where the use case or the prompt is complex and where you may want the model to go through a few steps of planning and reasoning and critiquing to get to the right outcome. And that's where I think, for example, code really improves when you see thinking introduced into the models. I think to your point, there's also cases where, of course, the models overthink. And this is one of the things that we're continuing to work on with our models is how do we ensure that for simple prompts where the model maybe doesn't need to think as much, it doesn't, right? And so one of the areas that we're investing in is, hey, if I ask the model something very basic, like, hello, how are you? The model shouldn't need to think and it shouldn't overthink for a prompt like that. But for, hey, help me build an amazing flight simulator game, one shot or zero shot basically with a single prompt. How do I do that? Maybe that's a great prompt for the model to think and reason and then generate an amazing web application.
I specifically found it very funny that you mentioned like the hey example where hey in the model overthinks. I have a tweet that went kind of viral from R1 and just like asked it hey, and I saw maybe like 10 paragraphs of it's like neurotic thinking about like what should I answer the user and like definitely
what are they asking for? Yeah. And so I think we need to find the right balance between hey, the model should just respond to hey, awesome flight simulator game or really complex kind of coding agent needs to actually do more thinking to get this task right. I think, we want to make sure that the model strikes a balance across those things. And that's a key area of investment for us right now.
Absolutely. Thank you. So one thing that is absolutely noticeable is the huge jump in capabilities. And we've talked about this. I'm showing, for folks who are just listening, I'm showing a live bench screenshot here. And the average for the model from Gemini 2.4 flash thinking to this like new model on the average kind of global average score, the score that was previously 66 points and now is like 82 points. This is like an incredible jump, topping Claude 0.7, 3.7, O3 Mini, O1, like all of these models. Could you speak a little bit more? I know you mentioned this in the beginning, but like the pre-training and kind of the combined stuff like across the board. What maybe stood out? Was there like a specific thing that jumped more than the other ones? I would love to hear like an anecdote internally of like something you guys maybe didn't expect and then suddenly saw. Because this came super quick also. Like you guys just released 2.0 what, 3-4 months ago. Would love to hear like how the combination
3 months ago, 3.5 months ago. It's amazing. I mean, I think maybe one thing that I will say that has particularly been interesting for us to navigate, and you talked to this in the beginning, Alex, is kind of the thing that I'm really proud of with this model is that it's a very well-rounded model. And what I mean by that is it is both really good at the benchmarks that you just showed, but it is also very good at, like you said earlier, like style control on LM Arena, which is more speaks to kind of how, maybe for lack of a better way of putting it, the vibes of the model, right? And one of the things that I think we were really thinking through is how do you get the best of both, right? Because I think often you see that a model is great on the benchmarks, but maybe not as great on the human preferences, or vice versa. It's great on the human preferences, but not as good on the benchmarks. And I think we've seen that play out a number of times. And so a lot of what we've been focusing on is how to do that interpolation and how to train the model to hill climb essentially on both of these. And I think that took a ton of iteration to figure out how do we merge our like thinking capabilities while also still pushing on hill climbing the kind of real world generalization. And so instead of these being kind of like two separate, as kind of one of our research leads calls it, like two separate islands, we're trying to actually make sure that the model can actually interpolate between these two things. And that actually has been, I would say, the biggest challenge for the team as we were kind of going through iterations of this model over the last, few weeks and months, really trying to get that sweet spot right. And I think that's really what made it awesome to release this model now, is I think we've really felt like we hit that mark.
I absolutely feel this way as well. I've played with this model. I also did an evaluation. I just want to show you super quick, and the audience as well. Folks who are watching us, you're seeing the Weave dashboard that I use for reasoning models, and I've compared like multiple models on it. I just want to show, and these, and Wolfram knows, like our listeners know, these are like a set of 20 very hard, specifically designed questions to trick LLMs with reasoning and show them like, hey, here's the thing, and it starts to calculate, but actually the answer is like hidden somewhere else. I haven't seen a score like this high. So Gemini 2.5 on this set of questions got 66%, and the previous highest one I believe was DeepSeek, or O1 High was O1 High is like the highest one, but like the pricing wise is insane. So in a second we're going to talk about pricing also. But the thing that I wanted to show most of all that folks should focus on is the latency. The latency is absolutely insane compared to this level of performance. So folks who are not watching, I'll give you like a comparison, okay? The accuracy score over those 20 questions, and I ran them 3 times, so like we were averaging out like temperature as well, 66% for Gemini 2.5, and then 60% for O1 High. And let's look at DeepSeek. DeepSeek is like 55%, right? So DeepSeek got like a little bit more than the half the questions right. The latency, I'm gonna put DeepSeek aside. So we tested it when DeepSeek was like super under load. So let's put it aside for a sec. But for O1, which is like the flagship model back then from OpenAI, the latency for this thinking was like 45 seconds on average. For Gemini 2.5 Pro, the flagship model from Google, is like 13 seconds on average per like question, which is insane. I want to like add another thing here. There's also the thing of token counts, of like how long the model can think, and you can see like Gemini things like I think it's total tokens, 49,000 total tokens to get to this like very high score on this very specific benchmark, very tiny benchmark. There's others. I'm just adding my own voice to like the known benchmark that showed this model is great. Comparatively, a lower score from O1 High, which is high reasoning. I paid a lot of money for this supposedly as well. It's almost twice as many tokens. For O3 Mini High, do you guys remember O3 Mini, the smaller model from OpenAI that's kind of reasoning and gets 2 or 1 levels if on high? O3 Mini reasoning is like 470,000 tokens, which is like an incredible amount of tokens to think. DeepSeek got a little bit less, but for way longer time as well. So I just wanted to highlight that like I also tested this, and I haven't seen a score this high. Those questions are hard to, they're meant to trick the models, and so I'm very, very happy with this result. I was very excited about this result. I'm going to share this as well. And the thing that kind of gets out of this, and the thing that Wolfram also asked in the question chat, Tulsee, this is for you. Maybe this is going to be last. Be mindful of your time. Last question to you. How can folks play with this model? And when can we use it to production? When can we know the pricing, and how much will it cost? And can we use this in our chats? And can we replace other thinking models? Could you give us a little bit of like what's next for this model, and when we can actually use this for our things?
So it is definitely our goal to price this model and to open it up for higher rate limits. We know that there are folks, Wolfram, thank you for your question too, who are waiting to use this model at a larger scale, and we really want to make sure that's happening. So that's something we're actively working on our end, and hopefully we'll be able to share more soon in terms of pricing and opening up the model for wider access. So stay tuned on that one. It's definitely on radar. We really do want to make sure this model can be used at scale. And then I think in terms of what's next is continuing to iterate on this model. I think you brought up, Alex, the overthinking piece. I think it's great to see kind of your stats of like relative latency and token counts, but I think this is also something we want to continue to push on to continue to make the model more useful, more usable, better at kind of interpolating when that thinking needs to happen. So hopefully you're going to see more updates continue to come for this model, making it even better.
I will just mention before we let you go that the multimodality capabilities of this model also significantly improved. Folks are reporting that you can just upload a 2-hour transcript, which we will try with the transcript of the show today, and get like a transcription fully with diarization. And I find that to be incredible. There's the model and the reasoning and everything, but also I believe the multimodality also improved significantly across PDFs as well. And you can upload like things, and the model can reason through multimodalities. Okay, I promise you. I already said last question, but like one last question. We've seen the rise of Omni models. We've seen the image generation natively. You guys innovated with this first, and then like the industry kind of like was bullied into following, I would say. When can we expect some multimodality from this model? When can I talk to it? When can it generate images for me? When can I talk to it about the images? Is that kind of something also on the roadmap? Are you guys planning around kind of combining all these capabilities into the flagship?
Yeah, so the two things I'll say first on your point around kind of multimodal understanding. Big thing I'll say is, please do try it out if you haven't. We're very excited about the multimodal understanding. I've been using the model to take kind of long video clips and actually like timestamp them and provide notes. And it's amazing. Like the combination of long context and multimodality is actually like a really cool sweet spot, because you can actually do really awesome things with long videos, long audio transcripts, and get really awesome performance.
I'll just clarify for folks who are listening who are like, what? I've been doing this for a while. We're not talking about I'm going to a transcription service, transcribing the video, and then sending text into Gemini. We're talking about like literally uploading the file itself, the MP3 file or the video file into the model, and the model like watches that file. That's what we're talking about here. There's like a very important distinction. Sorry to for interrupting.
No, thank you, Alex, for clarifying. Yeah, absolutely. I think it reduces like a level of overhead that I'm really excited about in terms of being able to just, put something in and actually, get out interesting insights just from the raw content itself. So that's been a big push for us when you talk about kind of native multimodality, is really making sure that the model can handle multimodal inputs extremely well. Then as you start talking about, okay, what does it look like for multimodal outputs? Definitely on the roadmap to think through kind of and bring in these capabilities. I think we really want to understand across our models, what is the most useful for developers and customers, in what format, in what contexts are they using multimodality, and then how do we bring that to bear in the most productive way? And so actively, working through that on the roadmap, and you'll see more in multimodality soon.
We're excited to see more. Absolutely. I want to talk to this model. I know there's like already like talking built into like some other versions. I want to talk about image generation, which is definitely something that I've been playing around. We actually, on the show, on the celebratory show, when you guys released the native image generation, we took a screenshot of all of us and then at the hat, at sunglasses, at this. And like, it was very, very fun. Tosi, thank you so much for coming up and talking to us about this model. Congratulations to the team. Anything else that I didn't ask you that is very important for you to say, or any shout outs to the team that you want? Feel free, this is your time.
No, I think thank you for having me. And yeah, I'll use this maybe to just shout out the Gemini team. I think like I said earlier, this has been like a massive effort from pre to post to inference time, but also like serving and deployment. I think, to get something like long context out the door in a way that is efficient and servable is also a massive feat in and of its own. And so I think important to think through that whole pipeline, including even the folks on our side who are building demos with this model and kind of telling creative stories about it. So huge kudos to the whole team.
Awesome. Tulsee, thank you so much for coming up. And for folks who are kind of following and haven't tried this model yet, absolutely you can try this. AI Studio has a new short domain that I use all the time now. It's ai.dev, I believe.
AI.dev, like, yes. Please go try it out at ai.dev.
AI.dev, you can go and try it out there. And absolutely, Tulsee, thank you so much for coming up. Folks, you should try this model. It's like the vibes are immaculate across everything that I've seen. I've tried it. I will use it to help me edit the show as I use other models. I want to bring up as we say thank you to Tulsee, I want to bring up the co-host here and to chat a little bit about like what are your vibes for this model as well, folks. Let's Niten, I know we talked about like multiple like Gemini models so far. This one, did you already install it in GitHub GG? Like what's going on? And also welcome Niten, folks who haven't seen you yet in today's show.
Yeah, hey everybody. I hope my mic is not horrendous again. It's okay.
It's all right. Yeah, it's all right.
Well, goodbye. I used it in Cursor. There's a lot of limits right now, so it doesn't quite work in GitHub GG. I used it myself as well. So I'll say this, it is better than GPT-40. So I tried it for coding tasks, and I tried it for some medical synthetic conversations thing. And it's not bad, but this does not replace Sonnet for me. For anything under 128K,
for code, you mean?
For both code and the medicinal stuff, and in general, it just doesn't. It just doesn't go quite there. So it did get all like the hard questions, like the Martian question, right? But now also DeepSeek V3 does get those, and I don't know. It's just something with it not quite following the prompt exactly as you want. Not always assessing everything. It has a lot of knowledge in it, so it just like talks about the stuff really well, but when you want it to actually do a very complex multi-step task, you basically have to go to Sonnet. That's my take on it. And for some reason it's not doing tool use that well, but that's a very cursor specific thing. V3 is doing tool use pretty well now, so
we'll chat about V3 in just a moment. I want to hear from Yam or Wolfram. What do you guys think about this Gemini 2.5? What do you think about the fact that it's thinking, but now like thinking is built into the flagship model, everything that Tulsee told us?
Yeah, the thing Niten said about not following the prompt, it was the first model which followed a part of my prompt where I have its own thinking logic. So I've been using that a long time. And there is something I call a stream of consciousness, where it is supposed to just think about stuff in its own language, if you will, and just mix it in. And most models just don't do that, but this model did. So that was a first time for me where I saw that it was following a part of the prompt that other models never did. So I can't say much more about it yet because I have to test it more and use it more. And the rate limit isn't helping, so I'm hopeful that will be solved soon. But that was very impressive for me personally. So yeah.
Wolfram, I would say it feels like we just made a few friends in the Gemini place, so we'll reach out to them and hopefully get some more RPMs to be able to test, right? We're evaluating. We're not just like playing around with this, so we'll definitely get it. Yeah, many thoughts? Have you played with this model? What do you think?
Yeah, look, Gemini in general are crazy good in coding for not just this version, previous version as well. And needless to say, long context with coding, you can fit entire repositories into the context and just ask questions or extract pieces of the code. It's something you cannot do with any other model. And one more thing, which I think many people feel, but I haven't seen people talk about, is that ever since Claude 3.7, the models are much better at code, 100%. But the thing is that I feel like they have a tendency to bend your code to a specific tech stack they know. They really try to pull you to something, even if you have like a completely different project and you're working in your own tech stack and you're trying to get them to help you with your code. They really try to pull you, and this is something that I haven't seen Gemini do, which is really impressive. Like you throw entire repositories and it absolutely find the tiny piece of code. And I also did crazy things like obfuscated code or compiled binary code, and like it kind of worked. It's just crazy. It's a crazy good model, seriously.
So shout out to the team, absolutely. Thank you guys for we're covering. I think we've covered it enough for the past almost 40 minutes, including a chat with Tulsee Doshi from the Gemini product team. Thank you, Tulsee, for coming up and talking to us about this model and generally for the whole they've been killing it, folks. We've been again for the first year of this show. Every week we're like, where's Google? What's going on? Why is Google still with Palm, whatever the crap they had before Gemini, right? They had AI models that were shitty, and now they're just absolutely mugging this to the level that OpenAI has to release from the chest of secret stash of things that are amazing, has to release it on the same day again. And we saw this last year with Google I/O, and we see this now again. I wonder what's going to happen. Google I/O is coming out on May 19th. I'm pretty sure, I haven't asked Tulsee, but I'm pretty sure that Google has some surprises for Google I/O, and I'm pretty sure that OpenAI will release some stuff a day before. So we're going to have very interesting going forward. So speaking of this model, folks can try this. Multimodality is absolutely killer. The long context is absolutely killer. I think we've covered most of it. Let's switch gears to the thing that OpenAI released in order to try and mock Google from its moment of glory. And I think they succeeded. it feels to me a little bit like they succeed. I wanted to correct the gears here a little bit because while I think the image generation is incredible, like I've Ghiblified myself before. Like I used multiple of these models to turn myself into Ghibli characters. There's Comfy UI layer. There's a bunch of stuff. There's Loris. However, a year ago, I think it was a year ago. Yeah, it was a year ago. Greg Brockman posted one image. That image had a person writing on a blackboard, and the shirt had an OpenAI logo, the old OpenAI logo before. And the person was writing, and like the blackboard had an actual kind of like properly written text, etc. And I think that he didn't even say anything. He just like posted it, and people generally assumed that like, okay, this is native image generation from GPT-4o, and then they haven't launched it. And then, as you guys know, on X, everybody's like, hey, this came out, like, where's this? Where's this? Like, every time they release something new, people are asking, where's this? Meanwhile, they released like a bunch of other stuff also this week, which we're also going to cover. However, they've set on this one feature, which we know the model was Omni model. They called the model Omni model from the perspective of omnimodality means it does multiple modalities on the inside and also multimodalities on the outside, but it's not a combination of models. So folks are listening is like, oh, I've always been able to generate stuff with GPT-4. I can show the folks who are watching, I can show you how that used to look just for comparison. This is me trying with like the old model. This is the level of stuff that you used to be able to generate. This is DALL-E. This is like not even remotely close to what we're talking about right now. This is not the native multimodal abilities of the model to generate images. This is the image calling a tool. The tool is called DALL-E, and then it passes in a description of what you want and adds some stuff. So we've been able to do this for a while. And then you guys remember that we've talked about native image generation from Gemini, who innovated in this. We were expecting OpenAI to release this. Gemini came, it was like, ta-da, we have this, and it was awesome. You guys remember March 6th, on our birthday, we had like smiles, and we took a screenshot, and we asked it for hats, and we asked it for sunglasses, and that happens with like 6 seconds within Gemini. And then finally this week, after being bullied, absolutely bullied into releasing this because Gemini already has this, Reve came out and took SOTA for like image text creation, etc. OpenAI finally gave us what everybody was asking for. And they did it in such a way, they completely took over all our feeds and people's minds, and it's quite incredible. And what they released is the native image generation ability within GPT-4o and within Sora, by the way. If you go to Sora and you have now dropped down video and images, Sora also supports this native image generation of GPT-4. And the reaction was insane. And the fact that we're sitting here in our faces and not like Ghiblified, this is like very funny. So I just want to make sure that like folks know what I mean by saying Ghiblified. On the live stream, which they announced in a very weird, was it Tuesday, I think, in 11 or something? Like it was uncharacteristic OpenAI because Gemini was about to launch. They talked about this model. They talked about, I believe they talked about autoregression as well. And then they also did like a live stream demo, and they basically asked for a screenshot of them in the style of Studio Ghibli, which we'll absolutely do right now ourselves as well. Right? It may take some time, but we'll absolutely do this as well. And basically, they posted this image of a Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli is, you guys maybe know Totoro and like other, like Princess Mononoke. This is like an incredible Japanese artist, Hayao Miyazaki, and his studio generating incredible films that if you haven't watched, please do before AI takes over, because we'll talk about this. And so now, because of that image and because of Grant Sletton's stream or whatever thread on X, there's my whole feed is Ghibli. I don't know, folks, about you. Wolfram, Yam, Niten, like, is your whole feed also Ghibli?
Yes, everywhere.
It just
I've insisted.
took over.
I haven't done one yet. And I just tried right now the camera image of us, but for me it's not working. It's not Ghiblifying the image.
Yeah, so
did they nerf it?
They didn't nerf it, but here's what's happening, and this is likely what's going to happen to me as well. For some reason, and I think it's because due to load, they probably had, when the image generation models are stressed, they have fallback to DALL-E. DALL-E has different properties, and the celebrity filter, if you guys remember, you weren't able before to generate images of celebrities with DALL-E. That would just like absolutely refuse, even just regular people if you mention them. They removed those restrictions now with the new model. And I think they're following whatever you can generate Trump kissing Zelensky in Grok. Like why the prevention doesn't make sense anymore when somebody took the first step already, right? So Grok basically already got there, and so they are looking and saying, they actually mentioned on the system card they want to let go a little bit of the restrictions. And so you can absolutely do stuff like this. So folks, here's the tip. If you go to GPT-4 and you try, hey, generate me in the style of Studio Ghibli, DALL-E would still be concerned about AI artists yelling at them and suing them. And so DALL-E would refuse. GPT-4o would not care. Not only would it not care, on the live stream, they basically said this and they kickstarted this whole thing. This image with the style of Studio Ghibli. So I'm going to try us as well. It's going to take a second and probably will fail because I also get DALL-E. So folks, if you're getting a fallback or a refusal that you shouldn't get, you're likely getting a fallback to DALL-E. But basically, Ghibli is like the littlest thing that it does. I just want to show some stuff. Folks presented. Yeah, I'm getting restriction by the content policy as well right now. So I'm getting a fallback to DALL-E as well. So here's the trick for you guys. If you go to Sora.com, and I'll actually show this to you as well for folks who are watching the live stream. If you go to Sora.com, that does not have a restriction. I believe that has a priority or something. Let me find, where's my Sora? Oh, right here. So if you go to Sora.com, first of all, you can see the images now generating. I need actually this here. 1 second, folks. 1 second, please. Give me 1 second. Sora.com. Yeah, okay. Here we go. And so if you go to Sora.com, you're now able to select, what's going on, folks? Okay, you're now able to select images. And when you select images, you can basically select GPT-4o. I will try to show this again.
Can it just do us right now? All four.
Yes, we're going to try to do this right now as well. So I tried it with DALL-E. DALL-E refused. Generate this image of 4 live streamers with the style of Studio Ghibli. We're going to try, folks. We're going to try. It's going to take some time. Everybody and their mother is now trying to generate. And actually, I think we should talk about this, and I want to hear from you guys as well. This absolutely broke through the level of the kind of the REI bubble. So obviously we're seeing all of the Ghiblis as well, but I'm pretty sure because it's in ChatGPT and because it's so approachable, I'm pretty sure that like everybody uses this now. What do you guys think? With kids, showing them, everybody shares with their girlfriend. The girlfriend's like, oh yeah, I want to do like Ghibli as well. This feels to me like because of the approachability of this, whereas diffusion models could do it before, but you had to do like multiple steps. This absolutely won from that perspective because it's just easy and you can talk to it.
Yeah, and it will blow over quickly, I think, because it's a true fad. The image generation, that's great stuff, and it will be very useful. But the Studio Ghibli style now, everybody is doing it, and everybody is, or I see people getting fed up with it already. So yeah, it will blow over like all the other stuff that happened. But yeah, it's 5 minutes now.
Yep. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the faddiness of this, or the ability to just like talk to
it's
this?
Just a performance. It's a jump in performance on a huge scale. It's not just in theory you could train a specific model to be at the same level for your own whatever problem that you want, but like you're saying, it's a single model that is capable of doing everything. It's a huge jump in performance. We haven't seen. It is the best image generation model in the world at the moment. There is no doubt. No one is denying this. So yeah, I mean, the fact that it's so approachable, it's going to be an explosion. I mean, I think that's the moment everyone is going to use this for real things like I don't know, ads and so on. And it's really useful. It is capable of doing it, and that's the first model. That is.
I want to show.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Niten.
The way that it portrays the emotions and captures the character of the person tells you that there's a lot of neurons in there just thinking or processing it, because it does actually capture like the emotional essence of the person. So yeah,
I absolutely agree with this. I wanted to add this as well. The thing that everybody is like getting on right now is, hey, turn me into this or turn me into that. But the prompt adherence of of it generating what you want exactly is crazy. So not only it adheres to the styles as well, which helps with character consistency, right? Like the big thing we know from diffusion models is because they're doing like diffusion and because of the randomness of this, diffusion models tend to not be consistent even if you try the same frame. We're almost done with ours. All right, folks. It kind of looks like us, maybe a little bit. So yeah, we're showing which one is the better one. I think.
Wait, we're seeing something else on.
Oh right, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you guys haven't seen this yet. I'm excited to show you. Here's the four of us as Studio Ghibli characters. There's two pictures generated. You can see like absolutely copied the thursdai from the side. And it has me with headphones. It has Wolfram with the title as well. Wolfram Ravenwolf, like perfect. The text is perfect. GitHub GG, Yampelag is Yampelag. It captured the mute sound, I believe. Besides Wolfram, it looks like it gave you a flower. But generally, this is like very, very good. I like it. A little bit cut, but I like this. But I don't feel like it captured our likeness like that too much because it's like four of us and we asked it to focus on other stuff. But you can see like the logo is like it took the microphone. It's pretty cool. Folks who are listening, I will add this to the show notes. You'll be able to watch us. But I want to just mention the other stuff. So the Ghiblification is fine. Here's an example that you guys are not seeing. Well, 1 second, please. That I'll show you in a second. This does depth analysis. So we're now watching the distracted boyfriend meme, where somebody just asked it, "Hey, do depth analysis on this." And you can see like the shadows, and the woman in front is like wider, and the folks behind are a little bit darker, and the background is even darker still. This is the generalization you're talking about. This is not, hey, we've built a model that is trained to filter people to Studio Ghibli. This is a general model that can do incredible things. The one thing that you mentioned, ads, I just want to add, sorry for the pun, I just want to add this thing where I have a link to it. That a person just like outlined examples for ads, and this is absolutely insane, folks, absolutely insane. So they take something like here's an example, right, of Liquid Death, which for folks outside of the US maybe don't know, is a water brand. It's just water. Liquid Death is just water. It just looks like beer, so you won't get embarrassed in festivals, I guess. I don't know. And they took this and they took like the ad for the AirPod or AirTag from Apple and just like generate an image for this water with a style similar to this ad. It absolutely just killed it with the text perfect. It did multiple things like take an image of a shoe and have like a person wearing those shoes and holding the shoe. All one shot, folks. All like, this is not like Photoshop. Like you don't need like, they took image of Roger Federer and just like replaced it with Cristiano Ronaldo, like super quick. This is all one shot. Even for creative agencies that like know how to do this super quick, this will speed up their work significantly. But also this will likely make sure that people who can not afford this very high creative agencies, people can still get to this level as well. So that's one thing. The other thing that I wanted to absolutely show, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to do this with music, is that somebody took, I'm kind of going back towards Ghiblification, but somebody took the whole trailer, and let me see if I can do this with sound. I want to see if I can do this with sound for you guys. Somebody took the whole trailer of a very popular movie and basically did this. So let me with the link. I just want to show 2 minutes of this, and for folks who are not watching us and listening, now would be the time to watch. Yeah, okay. I think, guys, let me know if this comes through with the sound, because I think sound is very important here. Yeah? No sound? No sound. Okay. Give me just 1 more second, because it's like a thing here with sound. Oh, we need a tab. I think it's PJs. Yeah, okay. We'll try now.
The world is changed, and some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. But the Ring of Power has a will of its own.
Evil is stirring in Mordor. The ring has awoken.
So basically we're watching a trailer of Lord of the Rings, where the person took every frame and then Ghiblified it via OpenAI or Sora, etc., via the image.
Can you? This is so good.
Every image and ran into Kling and I believe something else, some other video, and it took the best shots. And you can see
You have my sword.
how incredible this is
And my axe.
for the work
Carry the
of
fate of us all, little one.
like less
This
than 24
task
hours, less
was
than 40
appointed
hours.
to you, and if you do not find a way, no one will.
Folks, this looks
Hope
stunning.
that our presence may go unnoticed.
I would watch the whole movie like this
I
again.
want to watch this one. I absolutely want to watch this one.
We must turn back!
Shall not pass!
Or like, if you want to show it to your kid or something.
You will face evil,
Right?
and you will defeat it.
Even the smallest person can change the course
All
of
right,
the
we're almost
future.
there. We're almost there. But you can see ore. You can see
glad you're with
you can
me.
see the consistency that it generates the characters is incredible. And this is not like one generation; it's multiple generations. Consistency is absolutely key. Frodo looks like Frodo. Legolas looks like Legolas. Folks, this is incredible. I just wanted to like finish our conversation about this with this little movie. I will say the comments that I saw on this movie, and like it went super viral, super quick on this trailer, is people was like, if Ghibli really did Fellowship of the Ring, you would see incredibly hand-drawn animations in the behind and like scenes in there. It's like, I'm like, yes, but Ghibli won't. Ghibli won't go and give us Fellowship of the Ring, folks. Like the comparison is ridiculous. Like Miyazaki and Ghibli will not go and redo Fellowship of the Ring, and if they will ask for like astronomical billion of dollars like things. So yes, we may not get to their level, but I would watch this. I would show this with my kids. Like I would definitely, if somebody like a studio that doesn't care about IP and properties will do a lip sync. This didn't have lip sync. The person didn't have time for lip sync. So like when they talked, it wasn't quite clear. I would absolutely enjoy this and the ability of to change and put myself as character. Imagine this. Imagine you're watching yourself as a kid. You're watching Fellowship of the Ring. And you're like, oh my God, I have blue eyes. I want to be Frodo. Not that I want to be a hobbit, like a tiny hobbit. Fine. I want to be Legolas or whatever, right? Imagine you're like, click, and then you like put yourself in there and like you can now do this and it's incredible. And yeah, I'm absolutely agreeing with you. Even though they released something that they've been working on for a year and they've been sitting on this. Just the ability of this model to do consistency, talk to it, shown so much creativity from folks who just like started posting. It's incredible. I think we've only just discovered what this can do, and it's been what three days since this was released. Absolutely a changed world. Feels to me at least at the same level of like Stable Diffusion released, because this feels like that. This feels like I just want to do stuff. I really wish they didn't give me DALL-E randomly to be able to do stuff with it. So yeah, folks, native image generation, if you in the audience, if you're following us and listening to us, have come up with like cooler things than Ghibli, please share with us. We would love to see. And the fact that like, yeah, I agree with you. The fact that like this is model understands everything. Folks are uploading like scientific paper. I don't know if you saw this. Tanishk, our friend, uploads scientific papers like, hey, give me an explainer of this paper. Technium from News Research also did this for their the distributed distro or demo paper. They kept changing the name. And also there's like an explainer in anime, like an anime girl's like pointing and like, hey, this is, you know, and here flash attention. Like, so people are doing all kinds of crazy shit, like storyboards and like different kind of things. So play around with this model, folks. Let us know in the comments what you like the most about this, what you came up with, and I will absolutely add the Fellowship of the Ring in the show notes because, well, it was just incredible. I think it's time for open source. We have a little bit more stuff to talk about from OpenAI, but folks, we also have news from open source, though they took like a third place this week, but we love open source. We have to talk about open source. Let's go. Open source AI, let's get it started. Let's get it started, folks. And for open source, Wolfram, would you like to tell us what we got this week that's exciting?
DeepSeek is added again with the V3 release. That was the biggest one for me personally. Is that what you wanted to start with?
This is, I think, the most important thing in the open source community right now. DeepSeek gave us DeepSeek V3 0324, I believe. Yeah, 24. It was the beginning. It was like the start of I'm not reading from my notes. Yeah, 0324. Yes, which I kind of like from DeepSeek, that they have the main model, and now they have like versions of dates, which we saw from other models as well from OpenAI. 685 billion parameter model, and this is the same DeepSeek v3 that's like the base model that's pre-trained. Sorry, this is instruction tuned model, but it's not the thinking model. It's not R1. This is kind of the base for R1. This is their like biggest flagship model. The jumps in scores are very impressive. MMLU Pro jumps from 75 to 81, beating Qwen Max and GPT 4.5, and Claude Sonnet. Also, it's beating Claude Sonnet on MMLU Pro, which is incredible. GPQA jumps from 59 to 68, almost a 10-point jump in GPQA, which we know is all about kind of world knowledge and Google proof, like very hard science questions. AIME, folks, this one is the most incredible one. AIME is competition math, right? So we started talking about AIME since OpenAI released 01 Mini and 01, and they announced it, and they're like, hey, LLMs usually cannot do math, but we've added reasoning, and so now it can crush math absolutely. This model does not have reasoning. This model does not have reasoning. This is just a auto. I don't want to say wrong things here, but this is like a token prediction transformer model, MOE, mixture of experts that like it just predicts the next tokens. There's no like chain of thought built in here, and the jump in AIME from 39% of the questions to 59% of the questions, jumping 20 points, is incredible to me. Because again, the thing about, and yeah, maybe you can talk about this a little bit, because I don't understand how this is possible. It feels to me that like this is like a reverse loop. That they trained R1 became better and better and better, and somehow then they're generating like synthetic data, and then they're putting back in the base model or something like this. Otherwise, how does a model that just like predicts next tokens jump like 20 points? So
look, at the end, you can think about the entire thing like the entire thinking tokens, like some sort of computation, like the model is offloading computation into the text. You can think about it like that. In general, if you think about it, once you have the correct answer, you can train to compress that to like one shot. That there were papers that did all sorts of things, like you solve math equations, and then you like over time like train on less and less and less steps while the training, and at the end of the day the model gets to a point where it can one shot the actual solution. So I don't know what happened here. I don't know. There could be many different explanations, but it's DeepSeek, so we are going to find out probably in the near future, which is great. So, but yeah, I mean, respect, but like it's so close to the previous release. I mean, I'm not sure if it's like training in parallel or it's like one after the other, but it's crazy. The speed of the last month is absolutely crazy from everyone.
All labs, absolutely, but. DeepSeek v3 came out December, I believe, maybe end of November, December, something like this. And then R1 came out like close to end of December, beginning of January. And then folks lost their shit about R1. But v3, I think, is one of the, maybe it's not a bigger deal, but it's definitely like very close up there. v3 is beating like GPT 4.5, folks, on like multiple benchmarks, including this. Live Code Bench also jumped 10 points. So this model is like better at coding. One thing that folks notice is that it has significantly stronger front-end development skills. So this model started generating front-end interfaces, for example, like kind of what we go for to Claude 3.5 and v0.dev and bold.new and like all of these lovable.dev, like all of our friends who are building like these like complete AI things. The vibes on this model is great. It's released under MIT license, just like DeepSeek R1, and we're absolutely will receive from DeepSeek, like always. They're gonna like add more information there, so we're looking forward to this. Wolfram, how are the vibes from the community? How are people? I know you mentioned in the beginning you tried to run it. What are you hearing about this model? What are the vibes like?
The vibes are great. So what is great about it is that it is so smart without being a thinking or reasoning model. So it doesn't need to generate as many tokens, which means it runs much faster. You need You still need the resources to load it, but once it's loaded, inference is shorter because it doesn't have to run so long. So it is more usable locally when your resources are limited, and that makes it probably the best open model that you can run locally at the moment. And
if you're able to run it with the
if you are able to run it, you don't need much VRAM if you have enough RAM, because a lot of people are putting it on a fast server. They have a fast SSD and a fast processor, and you don't even need a GPU for that, which is more affordable actually. And on Apple, for example, with the unified architecture, there are also people running it on the Apple Studio with about 20 tokens I've seen. So it's pretty usable actually. I would love to see some smaller versions like a 70B or something like that. Would be cool if we would get some like that. The quality wouldn't be there as much, but at least more people could run it, of course.
You're right. When they released R1, I think one of the things for the community on the open source was they released distilled versions on top of Qwen and with R1, with the thinking things, and it got like very good results. And we were able to run this. We didn't run the full R1, but we ran those and we saw the thinking. It was like super, super cool. Here's a few things. They added Chinese writing proficiency, which I don't think we have a lot of Chinese audience. But if we do, folks, this model is great for you. And then they have a multi-turn interactive writing coming up. Search capabilities, but also function calling improvements, increased accuracy in function calling, fixing issues from previous v3 versions. So they definitely like improved like a bunch of stuff, but it looks like there's a lot of like specific things Chinese related. So shout out to folks from DeepSeek. Folks, you can download this model if you want to, and it's like 700 gigabytes, I believe, or you can try this on their API. I believe like the API also upgraded already, and you can try this model, and everybody else will probably host this model like super quick. Niten, any parting words about DeepSeek and this model before we move on?
I think this one is better than R1 for use in Cursor. Also, V3 itself was very, very good at tool calling, but the model itself was just kind of like not bad, not great. We are sleeping on this one a little bit. I don't think like I haven't even tested it that thoroughly. I did put the API in Cursor and it seemed pretty good, but this needs some more testing because I think it might actually be the best non-reasoning model right now.
Yeah. So just to repeat what you said, with a little bit more fanfare, this might be the best non-reasoning model right now, folks. This is absolutely crazy what's going on. And DeepSeek obviously gave us this with an MIT license. So do whatever you will with it, which is like incredible. Right. So the second thing I wanted to cover in open source, like super quick, is our friends from Quinn also released like a little bit of a thing that surprised most of us. I was definitely surprised. Folks, I will tell you, Junyang Justin Lin, who's the head of the development there at Quinn, one of the teams, and he's like sort of a DevRel as well. And he's a co-host of thursdai. He joins us often and he talks about the models as well. It's not like he gives us a heads up. It's not like we know advance. We sometimes just like we see a drop on Hugging Face and we're like, oh, Junyang, is this it? And he's like, yep, well, we just released it. So it's not like we get like a lot of like information ahead of time, and which is great because we get to be excited as the things release and get some breaking news. So Qwen, Alibaba Qwen released a new model which they call Qwen Omni 7B. And this is the year of Omni models, I guess. We saw it from last year from GPT-40, which stands for Omni. And now Qwen releases Omni 7B model. This model has a lot of innovation here. And we're going to they present something called Omni Talker. This model understands text, voice, and video interchangeably without like additional work, without outsourcing it to other tools. This model natively understands voice, video, and text and together. So you can like talk to this model, but you can also show yourself live. And they have a few examples of this. I unfortunately wasn't able to run this between kind of the stuff that I did. Did you guys play with it at all? Did you have a chance to play with this and install and kind of like talk to it?
I am waiting for VLLM support as well, so it will take a bit. I tried to run it as well on the Mac, and I wasn't able to. But yeah, this is I'm really looking forward to it because it's like the one model now you can have on device, which you can show everything into. Like it's finally we got a true capable multimodal on-device model that can see video, see text, and output text, and talk to you back as well.
One thing that they've highlighted is this like new thing they call thinker-talker architecture, so that the model can kind of talk to you and still like process what you're talking back. So kind of like multi-duplexity thing. I find that incredible. That's very important for, if you guys remember, we talked about stuff like Sesame, this is very important for the model to like be able to hear you while it still generates the audio tokens, so that it will like reason about what you said and like continue talking, for example. So this they added this architecture. I can't wait to like play around with this. Strong performance text, audio, image, and video tasks as well. And I see some folks saying that we cannot get Qwen Omni running on a Mac. It needs MLX support. So shout out to the community. We have a few folks in the community that are doing some MLX stuff. So shout out to Prince Canuma. Shout out to other folks, Avni Hanun, and like a bunch of other MLX folks. We need this model on MLX, but also this model is so innovative and novel. Like Niten just said, like LM Studio probably doesn't support all of these multimodalities yet. VLLM doesn't support it. So definitely the team cooked in there. The one thing that I noticed, and I wanted to ask you guys, I noticed memes about this model that like they said 7 billion parameters, but somebody opened it, there's like 11 billion parameters. Did you guys see the kind of conversation about this? I wanted to ask like Junyang about like what's going on there. But I don't think this is like, it's a critique or anything. I think it's just like funny. And also I find it funny that people who are posting memes right now, all of the memes are also Ghiblified, by the way. Like we've now become a Ghiblified universe, which I absolutely adore. I love Totoro. But like the fact that like somebody posted the meme. Do you guys remember the "Where is Quinn" meme with the duck or the goose or whatever that like goes around, and when people don't post evals with Quinn, there's like, "Where's Quinn? Where's Quinn?" So like I love that like people are now posting memes and they take the second to go to ChatGPT and generate the meme in Ghibli format. So shout out to the team. You guys are, I'm going to add this to the show notes. You can look at the architecture. The architecture, they have like a streaming encoding decoder in there. They have a vision decoder and an audio, vision encoder and audio encoder in the Omni Thinker model. Very, very cool. They posted some evals as well. It's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little
By the way, shout out to Prince Canuma for the MLX audio release. I used that for Kokoro and for Sesame 1B. It worked great. It worked pretty well. There is still some work to do in there with the 4-bit and 8-bit the Kokoro versions, but those are more on the model itself. But overall, the entire package is just one package now, MLX audio, and it makes it very easy to build tools and stuff with it just straight from the command line.
Literally, as I opened and you talked about this, here's a MLX audio like example, and then shout out to Prince Canuma MLX audio, a few small tweaks, and we've got native macOS with text chunking. So super cool. One thing that I want to show is that thanks to Lincoln, we have maybe potentially breaking news, right? This one? Yes, let's hit the
oh,
button.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely worth the breaking news button. Thank you, Lincoln. AI breaking news coming at you only on thursdai. I love the little shogo that shows up at the end of breaking news. I don't know if folks are noticing this or not. Anyway, folks, we have a little bit of a breaking news situation here, thanks to Lincoln. And generally, thanks to Lincoln. I don't think I said this this time. Lincoln is incredible, folks. You should give him a follow. President Lin on X covers everything in threads like every week. Those threads should get massively, massively more popular than they are right now. Thank you for commenting. It looks like we're having a little bit of a breaking news situation here where Quinn is going to release in the dropdown. We don't know this like ahead of time. We're just like seeing a screenshot of this. QVQ Max. If you guys remember, QWQ is Quinn's thinking and reasoning model that they released, a 32 billion parameter model that comes very close to R1 with only 32 billion parameters, which is incredible. And we've talked about this, and that model solves like a bunch of reasoning questions that we have hard questions. So super, super cool. And then they also released a vision thinking model, right? So as we know, the O1 Mini and Gemini Pro 2.5, the thinking models, I believe Claude 3.7 is also a thinking model. All of them are multimodal, but in the realm of open source thinking models, none of them were vision enabled. So R1, just text. What other reasoning models we got? QWQ, just text. LG released like a model, right? Like we talked about the refrigerator model last week. Just X. Exo1? Yeah, Exo1. There's so many models. And then most of these are not multimodal in the realm of thinking. And the folks from Quinn released a preview model before called QVQ, not QWQ, QVQ. Quinn Visioning Question. I don't know what Junior comes up with these names. And this QVQ was a reasoning model based on Quinn 2.5 VL, which is a vision language model that's like the top of the line. And now,
dude, you can use it. I'm using it right now.
Oh yeah, okay.
I went to. It actually looks pretty good to me. I gave it a. Let me see if let me just close some random stuff on.
Yeah, so if you drop down. Wait, I don't have it. Oh, right there.
Yeah, there you go.
And you do like expand more models, you'll get QVQ Max. And then we're gonna try to ask you what podcast is this and what something hard about the image.
Yeah, I gave it some diagram. Maybe ask him what do you think they're talking about.
And so this is awesome. Look, we're seeing thinking token streaming for this model, thinking about the image. And the user is asking what podcast is it? I need to look at the image provided. First, I noticed there are 4 people in the grid layout, which looks like a live stream of a podcast recording. The top right corner has a hashtag thursdai with a microphone icon and weights and biases next to it. That's probably the name of the podcast of the event. Folks, the thinking here is awesome. Look at the participants. One name is Alex Volkov, labels a
dude, it's figured out. It's an AI thing. Keep reading under. There
the hashtag thursdai suggests a recording event. Maybe even every Thursday. Weights and Bias, the company that provides tools for machine learning, so the podcast is likely about AI topics. The presence of multiple speakers indicates that a panel discussion about collaborative podcasts. I should confirm if Thursdai is an actual podcast name or just event series, since it promptly displayed with the microphone icon. It's safe to say that the podcast that's the podcast title. Folks, this is pretty dope. Like, it looked at the screenshot of all of us talking and kind of surmised that the title is like Thursdai. Organizer is Weights and Biases. Well, that's not. Yes, that's true. Like, format, live stream, panel discussion, collaborative podcast episode featuring multiple speakers like Alex Volkov, Wolfram, Raven Wolf, Jan Pelek, and another. Niten, you're another participant. I'm sorry. It went all the way to 3 of us and then did not. Let's ask it. Who's the other participant? Like, it should be.
It's probably because I have an at in the name and it doesn't get it.
We should, right?
10 to the power of 25 amount of flops to make a model overthink it, like into too much details about every single thing. Just to be clear, that's like a reasoning model that on input can get images. It's not like can reason with the images yet or something. I mean, just to be clear.
So, folks who are listening, the fourth, like, we asked it, who's the fourth participant? It absolutely showed us in the thinking that, like, Niten has a hash, like a @ before his name is his name and also his handle, and the model is like, oh, the DAC shows @Niten and GitHub.gg, blah blah blah, but also maybe it's his name. So, like, it literally said. The fourth participant in the image is Niten, indicated by the Twitter handle displayed below their video feed. Their GitHub profile, GitHub.gg, is also listed. It doesn't know about GitHub.gg. Folks, so breaking news from Qwen, a reasoning model. It looks super, super cool. I think it's safe to assume that at some point we'll get actual evals and they'll compare it to, like, Gemini, for example. But this is, like, shout out to the team at Qwen for QVQ Max, and absolutely shout out to LinkedIn for bringing us breaking news, which we love talking about. QVQ Max.
And shout out about the UI, the first UI that supports MCPs in the UI. You can look down. You can specify MCPs of your own.
What? That's also breaking news. I haven't seen this yet, folks. I'm gonna try this again. Hold up. AI breaking news. Another one coming at you. More exciting on Thursdai. Oh, so loud. Sorry.
Okay, that's too much.
Very loud, very loud. That's too much. No, I'm very excited about MCP because we just had an episode and we got MC-pilled, I would say. This is a premonition about something that I will talk to you guys very soon about, MC-pilled. Basically, well, Yam just noticed that the bottom bar of the chat Qwen.ai UI, the chat UI has thinking model, so you can like turn on thinking, which is for Q, VQ, Max turned on by default. You can add search, and now there's another button here with an icon. I haven't seen this icon for MCP. It's kind of like a star, and when you hover it, it says coming soon, which means that they will build MCP support into their chat interface, which means they're not sleeping on the actual trends that's going on. We will talk about MCP going forward just now. Like the next thing that we're going to cover just by happenstance is going to be MCP. So we got 2 breaking news. Quinn's about to add MCP support into their UI as well. Yam, thank you so much for noticing. This is awesome. Awesome.
This is amazing because it's a web UI. Usually you have the desktop apps where you have the MCP included. And I have been waiting for something like that because it is then it will be even more useful everywhere where it is.
Absolutely missing in every UI at the moment. Absolutely missing. Absolutely.
So folks who are listening to us and don't know what MCP is and why we're getting so excited, we had an episode chatting with Jason, Neen, and Dina Kozlov from Cloudflare about MCP that aired on March 6th, which was also our birthday. You're more than welcome to go and listen to all of us getting MCP'd through that episode. We literally got people, we started thinking about MCP, and then we got people who just blew our minds with the possibilities. It stands for Model Context Protocol, and this is basically an HTTP for agents and AI tools like a chat to discover tools in a standardized way. So that's basically what MCP stands for. If you hear this like acronym more than once, we will talk about MCP going forward, because maybe let's talk about the MCP news, because those are like very, very incredible. Wolfram, we started with like talking about how important this is. The major news about MCP is that the company that came out with this was Anthropic, and Anthropic is managing. Where's my? Oh yeah, there we go. Anthropic is managing the kind of the development of MCP, but it's in its own organization. It's not like GitHub.com/Anthropic/MCP. They have like Model Context Protocol as an organization, as a standards body, if you will. A small standards body. And the major news this week is absolutely this: Sam Altman, in an additional attempt to overshadow Gemini 2.5 incredible release, not only gave the world image generation natively from GPT-40, but also just like tweeted about this. I don't know why I came slacked. And then he said, I'm quoting Sam Altman, "People love MCP, and we are excited to add support across our products. Available today in the Agents SDK, which they launched a week ago, and support for ChatGPT desktop app and responses API coming soon." And it absolutely is already there. So if you go and click on this button, you go to OpenAI Agents SDK documentation, they describe what MCP is, Model Context Protocol. They describe it as MCP is like a USB-C port for AI applications. Just as USB-C provides a standardized way to connect your devices to various peripherals, MCP provides a standardized way to connect AI models to different data sources and tools.
That's a ChatGPT response right there, and it's very annoying to me the way it explains it with the stuff, because it's the Model Context Protocol is just like your API calls to this model, which you wanted to do vision tasks or control the screen or do anything complex. It just means that you can use the same API calls for OpenAI as for Anthropic as for Qwen. That's all it means. It just standardizes your API calls across different models. And the way that it explains it, it's like a USB port, like you're having a pina colada in the thing. That's just so annoying. Please don't use ChatGPT to write the docs. Actually explain the docs like a human being. Sorry, that was just a little rant.
All good. I will just say my phone and my watch and my Aura Ring and my like AirPods and all of these things and my Mac all charge from the same cable. So the one standard that unified all of them is USB-C. But you go off, man. You go off. I'm just kidding. Let's move on. So basically, they describe how to add these things with MCP, and they have MCP Server Studio, STDIO, and MCP Server SSE. So MCP supports server-side streaming, server-side events, and then also STDIO. STDIO means you run commands on your local machine. So that's going to be very interesting how Qwen is going to introduce something like this, where half of the MCP servers actually run on your machine with like Python or MPX commands, for example. So they support this. Using MCP servers, you can just like define the MCP server for your assistant and say, hey, like tool use basically. But like compared to tool use, the most important part about MCP is that you don't have to define the tool API kind of all the time. You can just like say, here's my tool. If it's standardized, the agent will just use this. And also use caching. They support caching. Go ahead, Yam. Yam, you're muted. Yam, you're still muted. Yam, you are still muted, Yam.
Really?
Start again.
Okay. Sorry. Anyway, what I'm saying is that there is a distinction between MCPs and tools, and it's very simple. If you think about tools, like you want your LLM for example, like the simplest thing, go and search a specific site like GitHub, for example, like GitHub search is a really easy example for everyone to understand. It's very easy to understand why you need this, how it helps, and so on. So you want to give your model a tool to do that, like some sort of a connection, like this is how you search on GitHub. However, that's simple tools. MCPs, what the difference is that they are servers, which means they can hold state, they can remember things. Basically, they allow you to do things like guide the model step by step, like a code that calls the model and then instruct the model to call the server again, like instruct the model step by step by step. And that's the difference between like MCP server and a simple tool. And I think no one ever like just explained this in this way. And it took me a while to understand what the difference is. But yeah, it's a really brilliant concept in my opinion, and it's great that everyone is adopting it. A single protocol. It's absolutely great. It could have been worse, way worse.
So I will remind folks about. I will remind folks of the old standard fights with Blu-ray and the other like laser discs, etc. Or even if you go way before, and if you're old and you like follow the industry, VHS versus Betamax. Competing standards are shit for the industry. People adopt half of them and then they have to rewrite. And this was like an absolutely thing that people were scared about MCP. That like, because it's entropic, OpenAI does their own stuff, as we saw. They're doing stuff when Google releases something, they're trying to undermine them, etc., which is all fun. For us, we'll just get better models. But for competing standards, that would be absolutely shit, because this would bifurcate the community. Cursor and Windsurf and like all these tools would have to like support another protocol, and like would have to choose, and then developers would choose, and then at some point the protocol would just like die slowly, and then you're like, if you chose the wrong one, it sucks. This support, and Yam, I fully, completely agree with you. This support from OpenAI to a standard that like a competing company standardizes is absolutely essential, because now people can jump in with 2 feet and say, hey, I only use GPT models, and I technically could implement MCP on my client and kind of like call MCP. But the fact that they support it in their APIs, and not only that, Wolfram, I think we can talk about this, the fact that they're going to support this in the client, the desktop client, I think that this is going to break through the bubble of like the normies of what this means. This means app stores for MCPs, which we're already seeing now, Smithery and MCP.run and found something, I forgot, like all of the other ones. We have them in show notes. I'll add a few more. They're popping up like mushrooms after the rain, because like everybody tries to like capitalize about this. Folks are seeing what we're seeing, folks. Niten, your metaphor with USB-C, the metaphor they're using for USB-C, maybe you don't like. The metaphor that I like and I talked about is this is HTTP for agents. HTTP is Hypertext Transfer Protocol, basically a protocol on top of another protocol called TCP that's like higher, like or lower level. And technically, the web could happen with TCP sockets, technically, but the web didn't. The web needed Hypertext Transfer Protocols to transfer text to build websites. Websites are now taken over. We're live streaming to you with video over a website, over HTTP, and probably there's like some TCP layers or WebSocket layers behind the scenes. HTTP absolutely standardized another model, and not until it came, the explosion of the web happened. I treat MCPs as the equivalent of HTTP for agents communication, and there's so much more in there that we dove in deep. And so if our rant right now is you're lacking some basic information for this, definitely listen to our conversation with Dina and Jason, because we definitely covered like it from scratch. Nisten, you wanted to comment something? No, you're all good. Wolfram.
What I could say, what I'm excited about is the interconnection that is possible the more people support MCPs. Like you can have a MCP that manages the memory of the model, and then you can talk to Claude, or you can talk to ChatGPT or your local AI, and it has the same memories. It has the same tools it can use. And yeah, you could even have an AI call another AI and use that in its response. So you can choose and pick you build your own mixture of experts with various AIs. So there are so many possibilities. The more widespread the protocol is, the more useful AI itself can be with the tool it uses and how you connect those tools. That is mind-blowing.
We will still be discovering a bunch of stuff. The one thing that I wanted to show super quick, and I think this goes into the territory of this week's bugs a little bit, and we're going to wait for Morgan to join and talk to us about what we built. The thing that OpenAI also added, how can I zoom here? And okay.
Look, I think part of why Sonnet does so well in Cursor is because they have trained it for this protocol. And I think just right now, probably V3 added some of that. But the reason that it does so well, like way beyond anything else, is it has been trained for this. And the one good thing that will come out of this is the other models will be able to do tool use as well. Like Sonnet will call on a single prompt, it will call like 25 different tools, and the tools are, I just opened the file, I just read this thing, I just edited that file, I just ran this one command. Those are all different tools. So it has to be trained for that. The model itself. So now that we're going to get a lot more of this data, and they're like kind of forced to support it, they will also do a lot better at.
You're absolutely right. GPT released with function calling before tool use, and then it became tool use, and they trained it on selecting the right tools, etc. I'm pretty sure it like went into Claude. I'm pretty sure the OpenAI will benefit from training additional things for this purpose. The one thing that I want to show before we switch off to this week's buzz is that OpenAI also added information on function call, MCP related information on function calls to their like tracing UI. We didn't cover tracing UI too much, again, because I work with weights and biases, and we have a tracing tool that works not only with OpenAI, but also with every other product as well. So if you don't want to get locked into OpenAI, shout out to them for this beautiful UI. You would use something like weights and biases Weave. And we're talking about observable tools as a concept as well. I'm absolutely getting excited about this in Slack. I'm like leading a bunch of stuff. I'm getting folks MCP'd all across weights and biases, for example. And I think that one of the most important things about this is observability into the tool calls itself. So imagine the benefits of MCPs is like standardization. The downsides of MCP from a observability perspective is that those are essentially black boxes. And you don't know what happens in that server because it's essentially a separate server. So we need to get to a point of observable tools, and we will absolutely be there, and we'll let you guys know how we're thinking about this. And we're chatting with the protocol folks. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to keep you updated about this. And for example, of why this is important, OpenAI added into their like tracing UI, which they have, the list MCP tools command for any assistant. The first thing they do is like try to figure out which MCP kind of tools they have. And you can see, folks who are listening, we're looking at the UI that says list tool commands. It took 3 milliseconds, and it shows just the tools that this agent has access to, like list directory, like Niten mentioned, create directory, move files, search files, get files. If you guys remember, this is a little bit not about observability. If you remember Claude Code that came out, which is a command line tool from Claude that came out together pretty much on the same day with Claude 3.7, and that's been also like super awesome. You just like you download this and you install, and you like type Claude in any directory, and then like you just go and you talk to Claude, and Claude has like thinking. I actually received this. I finally got my stickers with Cloud Code, so I'm showing. You guys remember we live on stream discovered a Easter egg there. If you type stickers, it would just like send you stickers from the UI. So I finally got my stickers. Basically, I've been using this a little bit. All of Cloud Code is a collection of MCP tools connected to a command line. That's all of it. It can open files, it can read files, read GitHub, etc. It's just like a collection of tools based on with MCP. Yam doesn't agree with me.
It's very complex. It's very complex. Doesn't matter how I know that it's very, very complex, but it's very, very complex. It's very impressive. In my opinion, that's the best. I'm just saying, like, in my opinion, that's the best coding agent at the moment. Like, by far, it's absolutely crazy. And there is a reason for that. I'm not saying how you can know for yourself, but there is a way to know for yourself exactly how complex it is, and it's extremely complex behind the scenes. Just saying that. Yeah.
Cloud Code. So we will just like open and show you what Cloud Code is super quick.
There's a lot of code in Cloud Code, and there was the entire controversy of because when they first posted it, they had also posted the source maps of the JavaScript. Normally, when you post something, the JavaScript is minified for the app, but they posted the source map, so you could extrapolate all the full TypeScript code out of what they had posted. So there was this whole controversy about Cloud Code, and then they removed it, and then they started suing people that reposted it, but it's all over the internet now. And there was a lot of code in Cloud Code for those of us that might have looked at the whole thing. There's a lot going on there.
So it's not only a collection of MCP.
That awkward moment where you reverse engineer the obfuscated code because you're not such a good JavaScript developer and you didn't even know about this. But yeah, no one there.
All right, you folks. So thank you, folks. We covered Cloud Code as well. I absolutely find it impressive. It uses a bunch of MCP tools as well. And now it's time for this week's buzz. Let's get it. And as always, this week's buzz, I'll tell you what it is. And we're on this week's buzz. This week's buzz is a category, is a segment of thursdai where we give you updates about everything that happens at Weights and Biases. And with me, we have Morgan, head of the AI applied team at Weights and Biases, my colleague and friend, and also an MCP build person. Absolutely, Morgan. Welcome to the show again. You've been here before, I believe, but welcome again.
What's up, Alex? Good to be here.
It's great having you, and you're here because I told everybody already, we're getting MC build. Absolutely, with Weights and Biases, with Weave. And for folks who don't follow and maybe new to the show, we kind of have two offerings product-wise at Weights and Biases. One of them used to be Weights and Biases, now Weights and Biases models that every major lab pretty much in the world uses for ML observability and building their foundational and watching the loss curves go down, etc. And the other offering we have at Weights and Biases Weave. This is the product that we promote for the past coming up on a year, less than a year, we promoted, we trended it up to be up there with and we're gonna beat the competition like we said. And Weave is all about LLM observability and evaluation. For this reason, we are going around the world, we're doing workshops for evaluation, we're teaching people how to do this, and observability is very important. And now Morgan, you weren't here, but we've just prepared the audience for MCP because we talked about OpenAI adding support for MCP. Just now, Sam Altman posting this a couple of days ago, which means that the protocol is taking root and adoption is paramount. Like people are able to jump in who were afraid before that OpenAI will create another competing protocol. But we've been MCP'd before. Not only that, we had a hackathon during our offsite a couple of weeks ago that was all about MCP. And I'll just give it to you. You built something super cool and you want to share it with us. And I would absolutely love to hear about this, how you thought about this, and also maybe a demo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're working on a few different MCP bits. Building the server is kind of like the obvious first step. But like you said, a couple of guys in the engineering team had some like really nice hacks that hopefully we're going to see in the product in the not too distant future. But yeah, one thing I really found kind of funny with MCP, which is I guess like generic to tool use, but is having to prompt so much within your doc string. And I can show you what we've put together. So I'm going to share a screen here. Let's share this one. Cool. Great. So I'll zoom in a bit here. So I'm just using the Claude desktop as a MCP client here, but obviously you can use anything. We have currently three tools, soon to be probably 8 in the next day or 2. So we built an MCP initially to chat with your Weights and Biases Weave data, and the point there is to be able to integrate, your evaluations or really like any traces or like metadata.
I want to pause you for a sec because chat with your data chatbots have existed for the past 2 years, etc. Like there's nothing new there necessarily. We also have WandBot, which we talked about, which kind of connects to our docs. This is not it. This is not like chat with your data. This is Claude desktop app that you can download separately from Weights and Biases, and then via additional powers, via that USB-C connection, you've connected it directly to the API, so that the model can just like do things with it, right? So here's an example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a better way to frame it. So it's able to like directly call these like 3 tools, which in a couple of cases are just light wrappers over the existing like Weave API, but the trick is in all of this like kind of gnarly looking docstring and like prompting, because we log such a variety of data, and like our users do everything under the sun. Like it's important to expose them like pretty flexible APIs, and then let the user with the LLM kind of like drill into like what they're looking for. So there's like a bunch of instructions here. One of the interesting things, especially for us as like an observability tool, right, is we users like so much data, like especially in like say in a single agent trace, that it's so easy to like destroy your context window in the client when you're querying a few of these traces. So a lot of the prompt in here was around trying to get really specific on the data being returned, maybe only initially returning like metadata, and then asking the user, okay, like, do you want to drill in for there? So this is going to query just the last 10 traces in this project, and you'll see again, standard like MCP stuff. We like allowed the tool.
So I'll just add for folks who are just listening, we're looking at Cloud Desktop now enabled with these tools, basically the Morgan connected via our API, and then Cloud Desktop asked if you want to perform this action. Like it's kind of like annoying to a sense that the user have to accept all the time that the Cloud Desktop does. It doesn't happen in Windsurf or Cursor. Windsurf or Cursor just use the tools, just run. So you select the client that you want and the level of capability you want. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see there's like a couple of evals in here. So then you can do some nice bits. Like, there we go. Yeah. Tell me about my last 3 evaluations. And again, it's gone to, now the in our MCP in the tools, like it knows like if you're like asking about evaluations, that like there's a couple, like an extra couple of filters you want. You can see it also drilling down to just a subset of the like available columns, again, like not to like overwhelm the context window. And then you can see all the data returned, and then Claude will spit it out in a nice, like easy to consume format. But the cool thing with this, everyone knows that like Claude and ChatGPT can generate charts, but now you can actually put those charts somewhere and maybe within weights and biases and save them. So we can ask it, okay, what are we going to say? That's great. Please generate some charts and save them to Weave. And so this was a quick instruction to generate some charts based on the evaluation metrics that were just retrieved. And now it's going to go and generate those charts and push them into Weave itself, into weights and biases. And so there's a nice way, because a lot of interactions with chat apps are like a little ephemeral. Like I'm not sure about you, but I don't tend to come back to historic chats so often. But being able to push these into a report that you can then like edit yourself, that you can then share to other people in your like weights and biases team, makes the analysis like a lot more permanent, we'll say.
First of all, Morgan, this is like so cool, even up to the point where you got to the like charting place. There's being able to like query API with natural language is what we're talking about here. The API itself is complex. You need to read this, etc. After this tool, basically you expose the like API capabilities to people, just like chat about and ask them about this. But then the charting part, I want to go into my DevRel mode for a second. Weights and biases has this amazing feature that many people use called reports, which is basically like a blog that belongs into your kind of organization, and you can add active like live charts about your like runs, etc. to those reports, and you will be able to post them and share them across collaboration across your team. Many of our enterprise customers absolutely love this specific feature because they can trace live runs, they can see like live charts as well, etc. The team did an incredible job there on the reports feature. I absolutely love to talk about this as well. And what you're saying right now is that your MCP tooling is not only read-only. So you're not only getting information, chatting with this, there's also like some artifacts that can come from this. And what we're seeing right now running for folks who are just listening is Claude basically, Morgan asked, does great generate some charts and save them to Weave? And it does back and forth of kind of like trying to understand, okay, it generated some code. The code probably is in some charting library, etc. You gave it within the API spec spec text, right? You gave it a little bit of a description of like how not only the API itself, but also how to add charting in there. So it uses, I believe, HTML, right? And then SVG stuff, and now it runs, and then at some point we'll see a chart, which is like absolutely incredible because many folks who can chat with a chatbot cannot generate charts themselves on SVG charts.
Yeah, I think like the thing I'm most excited about is that like write element. Like querying an API is fun, but being able to get it to then take actions for you is really nice, especially when it's like a lot of people do a lot of really interesting like analysis in their chat. So being able to like save that somewhere useful is good. We like in Weights and Biases, like we have APIs to like kick off training ones with launch. So there's like a huge amount you can do with like an API, and especially if you use Claude or ChatGPT as like your kind of almost main interface, you can orchestrate your entire like GenAI like workflows through your chat app of choice, which is like pretty gnarly.
So Morgan, we're at the end of time of this week's Buzz. Huge thank you for coming and showing this. Can people use this right now?
Yes, it's available on our GitHub, 1b/MCP-server. And the reason this was taking so long, by the way, is that right now the LLM has to spit out all of the HTML to then log. So we're probably going to find a better way to log these charts. And we'll hopefully see some prettier charts soon.
And I can absolutely tell you that I've seen charts before, and maybe Claude is the reason. Let's blame Claude for the reason for the slowness, but absolutely saw charts, and we can see like basically it has all the code for the charts. It just needs to save them into a report. And I think we're done. Let's give it one more second.
The link.
Let's go. Wait, hold on before you click. I just want to remove our faces. There's a link, and basically it gave us. You can access the report here, and it says open link from the web, and you said yes.
Over here.
And it pops somewhere else. And now we can see a Weights and Biases report, which will add to show notes, folks, if you want to see it, with overview and scoring like a bunch of these things from this report. And I want to see the charts as well. There we go.
Yeah. So that's pretty, we didn't really ask it for any like too detailed charts. The other nice thing is you can iterate on your charts in, ChatGPT or Claude artifacts, make them like pretty, do more analysis, and then do the push. And so you can like get some really complex charts and then save them in Weights and Biases.
It generated a bunch of them. This is crazy.
Yeah,
it generated like we're watching like multiple charts happening.
Nice.
Can you zoom in on this one? I want to see this one. So we saw a chart. Now we're seeing a chart that measures. I haven't seen this type of chart before. What's it? It measures like correctness plus and like latency you also added plus down there. No, interesting thing. So it measures like a bunch of cool stuff. Morgan, people can use this. We'll add this to the show notes as well. What is next for this? I want to hear from you. Like, what is next for our MCP efforts and servers? And let's end on this.
So we obviously Weights and Biases is known for its experiment tracking. So we're adding the ability to query your experiment data. Probably in the next day or two, and then after that we'll have a couple of ways to basically being able to run it through an MPX instead of having to run the like Python server. You can also use MPX to run the server.
I want to just like specify a point that you said that maybe people just like missed, because I see Yam in the audience. I see like a bunch of folks who are ML users and maybe Weights and Biases users. You just said that when we add support for models, our experimentation tracking, I'd be able to like basically build an agent that checks the loss curve for me. I don't have to like check it themselves, and the agent can send me a ping like, hey Alex, your loss is going up. It should go up. Like we're literally going to be able to let you guys who use Weights and Biases models to just like chat with that data and then share it and then build reports. Like everything's gonna be enabled. Like you can build it. We're just gonna build a tool for you. You can build it. So it's super, super exciting what's coming up. Morgan, thank you so much for working on this and the explanation as well and the awesome demo. We will have you back once the models thing releases. And I will just like add to the folks, Morgan, thank you. I will just add to folks that folks, we're very, very, very serious about MCPs at Weights and Biases. This is like the beginning of, this is like trickling of the river of the things that Weights and Biases is gonna do with MCPs, because we absolutely believe that this is the next HTTP. So with that, this is the end of this week's Buzz, and we have another thing that comes up, another guest that like impromptu. Thank you, Morgan, for joining, and this is the end of this week's Buzz. Let's get back to it. Alrighty, folks, we're back, and this was awesome. And I hope that all of you will try our MCP server and give us feedback. And if you want to use Cloud Code and fix bugs for us, please feel free. We'll definitely accept pull requests. If you never use Cloud Code and you have a reason, you're finding a reason to, just download our thing, run it, see bugs, ask Cloud Code to fix them, open a pull request, but please test it before. We don't want to test it for you. All right, thank you for Morgan for coming up. And then I'm very, very excited about the next step of being able to chat with your runs and your last scores that's coming up. One thing that we need to update before we have our next guest here, we'll introduce our next guest in a second, then I think we'll drop off, is that quietly, without a release, without Sam Altman tweeting about this, Wolfram, do you know what I'm talking about? OpenAI released another update. And they released it via YouTube Shorts. I don't know if you guys saw this. Literally, like I only found out about because I follow real Adam G, who was like a product lead, whatever for OpenAI. OpenAI quietly updated advanced voice mode on the application. And it gave it, do you guys remember we talked about the voice mode update? We saw the live stream again together, and then we had Quinn talk to us about this. They've added something that's called semantic VAD, semantic voice activated detection. Semantic VAD means that the pause detection on ChatGPT, where it listens to you, is not based on silence. It's not like when Alex stops speaking, it like immediately jumps in. As every one of us knows how annoying this is. Semantic VAD actually tries to understand what you said and whether or not, based on implication of your tone, based on the words, etc., you finish talking or not, which is incredible for kids because kids fucking hate advanced voice mode because it just interrupts them when they think and they get frustrated and they say a word. It's like a whole mess. OpenAI used that tooling and added it into advanced voice mode on the ChatGPT app and the desktop app now. So they literally updated those models. They have better personality now. They interrupt much less, although they feel a little bit slower because they interrupt much less. They kind of wait and have to process like whether or not you stop talking. They have natural tone and like direct and concise tone as well. And you don't have to fill the gaps and silences, like we said, like I do on the show all the time because that's how I do. You don't have to like say you know the trick that we use to like prevent the VID from happening. You don't no longer have to do this, which is awesome. I wish to have a demo for this, but I don't want to do the setup, etc. But I just wanted to give you guys an update. So if you noticed a update, I don't know why OpenAI decided to only update this via YouTube Shorts, for example. This is the only announcement that they did, but they did this and they absolutely changed kind of the advanced voice mode. With that, I want to introduce a friend of ours. I believe we're friends already, Prince Canuma, but you haven't been here on the show, so welcome, Prince, to the show. Thank you so much for like jumping on super quick. Please feel free to introduce yourself and kind of the type of stuff you're known for, because this is your first time on the show, and then we'll talk about something that you released this week.
My pleasure, Alex. Thank you for having me, guys. I'm Prince Canuma, also known on Twitter as the MLX King. I currently work at RC as a machine learning research engineer. I've helped build projects like Fusion, the new RC Fusion. I've helped with other projects like Orchestra and some other research projects that we did with distillation and etc. One of my biggest passions is open source. So I've been contributing. I created MLX VLM, MLX Audio, Fast MLX, MLX Embeddings. So I'm the creator and maintainer of all those libraries. And I also contribute to other open source projects like MLX LM. So if you see, most likely if you see a new MLX model, I'm involved in some way, most of the time.
That's what we know you for. So a prince was also a king. I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much. We've been talking about another M-based acronym for the past 3 hours called MCP. This is not it. Could you tell folks like a brief thing what MLX generally is? And then we're going to talk about what you released.
Okay, so MLX is an array framework for Apple Silicon. It's developed and optimized for Apple Silicon. You can imagine it akin to PyTorch. So if you've used PyTorch, TensorFlow, Keras, and so on, MLX is that, but so that you can run machine learning models and even experiments completely on device.
Awesome. Thank you for this explanation. And obviously, when we see kind of a new model drop and we see folks like Bertowski, our friend, Colin, right? I think Colin is, Bertowski and some other folks, we used to have the bloke, they kind of take the safe tensors, like weights files, and they turn them into a quantized GGUF version, which Georgy Ganov gave the world. And like, there was a bunch of quantization ones. How is MLX compared to that? Because you're also doing some conversion, right? You're taking models that are released by other parties and you're doing something, you're uploading into the hub. Like what exactly are you doing? How is this different than distillation? Tell our folks.
Okay, so basically we have a model that comes to the hub, usually in transformers. So it kind of runs using transformers. Hugging Face transformers, really great framework as well, and they support a lot of models. So what I do and the community does with MLX is that we convert it into MLX code. So we take all the syntax in PyTorch and transform it into MLX. And after that is done, we then load that model and convert it and quantize it to 4-bit, 3-bit, 6-bit, and so on, so that it can run a little bit faster on your machine or more efficiently. And that's pretty much the process. So first process is basically converting the code into MLX code. And then the second part is quantizing or just converting the model weights.
That's awesome. And I will say a very important thing. LM Studio, our favorite locally running thing, supports both these. Supports Metal directly, I believe, with GGF, and also supports MLX as well. So you can download your stuff, the stuff that you release and repackage into MLX into LM Studio, and they will just run, and they will run fast because they run very close to Metal. And like we said, Apple optimized MLX for this specific use case. And we talked about MLX a bunch. So thank you for that explanation.
Actually, they do use MLX VLM under the hood. So they're using MLX VLM and MLX LM to run those models.
That's incredible.
And so hopefully soon they will use audio.
Okay, so now let's talk about we're a show that covers the last week in AI. So we've been covering MLX here and there as well, but you haven't been here before. So first of all, thank you, a huge thank you for the contribution. We've talked about you multiple times on the show, mentioning how much work goes into downloading this. You and folks like Bertowski and a bunch of folks who just spend their own time. And I will just say this one thing: I saw you react to some Heckler or whatever on X. Fuck that guy, fully on fuck that guy, because folks doing this from their own time, spending their own expertise, learning, doing a bunch of stuff, their own GPUs. There's a bunch of things that people are spending time on, and they're comes this anonymous asshole and throws shade on some part of work. Fuck that guy, honestly. So huge thanks to you and generally folks like you in the community for doing this awesome work, allowing us to enjoy open source, which we love. With that said, you have released something this week. We mentioned it at the top of the show. Could you give us a little hint of what it is and how you got to release it?
Okay, so this week we announced pretty much MLX VLM, MLX Audio version 0.3. It's kind of one of the biggest releases we have had so far, and a lot of people really loved it. If I could show my screen, I guess it will be. Yeah. Let me just share screen.
Sleep to random text that I had from Claude that was lectures that I had generated, and I was falling asleep, just dumping them into the Kokoro MLX audio command and having it do the -- join audio. And I was generating it with that on my own computer the whole time, because before that I always had to go onto my server and do NVIDIA and stuff. So now it's actually on my computer.
Wait, Niten, I think you're jumping the gun a little bit. What is MLX Audio? I don't even know. Tell us, and then the experience. I want to know.
Okay, so it's funny. So I can give the backstory of MLX Audio. Last year, December, I had a talk in Warsaw, Poland, where I currently live, and I had built computer use. And one of the things that I actually wanted in computer use is the ability to not come and sit on this chair every single time I want to use it. And I said voice would be really great. If I could just spit out the command and it does everything, because I know that the algorithm works. I just need to interface it with voice, and I want it to speak back to me as well. So it can tell me, hey, I clicked here and this is the result. I don't want to always just be looking. And I did the talk. It worked, at least the first version, with my voice, but it didn't speak back. So this idea of text-to-speech has stuck with me throughout December. And in the beginning of the year, I said, okay, I'm going to build this. I don't see it anywhere else. I'm going to build this. I want to build Jarvis at home. I want to be able to have this experience completely voice, so hands-free. And that's when I started the hunt, and I saw Kokoro, and I said, okay, this model is pretty small. Let me just jump into it. I built the first version, and I thought, well, this can be way more than just text-to-speech. This can be a speech-to-speech interface as well. And I think audio will be big in 2025. So that's how MLX Audio came to be. It's basically a text-to-speech and speech-to-speech ML package that runs on Apple Silicon using MLX. So you can right now pretty much generate audio. There's someone this last 2 weeks, there was someone that generated audio for the entire Bible within 24 hours. So he narrated the entire Bible in 24 hours. And someone right now on Twitter, I think I can show you this. This person just published a let me see here. He has a right here. So he used MLX audio to generate 3 hours of audio in 1 hour and 40 minutes used on an M1, not even an M3 or M4, on an M1 laptop. And it took like around 21 gigabytes to do this. And we are still optimizing it even further. So this memory usage is going to go down significantly.
That's awesome, dude. So huge congrats on the release. I will definitely go and try to use this. Niten, your experience, please.
Yeah, it's great. I use it. Just go pip install MLX audio.
What models we support is Kokoro and like other models?
Kokoro, Sesame, the Sesame 1B. We support also Orpheus, the I forgot the name, but the newest one, Orpheus, and we also support Suno Bark. They are the ones that do the music, and we are now planning to add also some music. So probably it's not only just going to be STS; it's going to be a general audio library.
That's
so
awesome.
Able to,
yeah. Canopy Labs Orpheus is also
exactly.
covered as well.
If I can have a feature request. When people specify in quotes in the command what to say, because I've just been getting other Cloud stuff to remove all the parentheses from the stuff, so that then I can just copy paste it all in one go, and that's how I've been doing it in the terminal. But if I can just specify a text file with the speech, that would be.
Oh, you can.
You can.
You can. There was a PR. There was a PR, early PR actually. Something around one of the first few. It talks about receiving this one, receiving text in from SDN. So you can basically specify this. Use a language model to generate the response, and then afterwards generate text with MLX audio.
That's
we now have someone working on docs.
Sorry, Prince. We have to wrap up because we're past 2 hours. I just wanted to again say thank you for, first of all, one of the things we love the most here at thursdai is folks who release something, to have them come and talk about this. So thank you for joining us. Second of all, like we also said, huge applause to you from the community for all the work that you do selflessly. And RC, as a great friend from RC, Lucas is often here. We talk about like RC stuff as well. I think, folks, with this, we're gonna wrap up for thursdai for this week. I will just say this one thing: if you haven't Ghiblified yourself yet, you should absolutely do so. And here, as a parting gift, basically, here's us celebrating the Ghiblification of thursdai, the end of thursdai. I don't know why it shows like half the picture, but pretty much this is us. All the text is great. If you haven't used the GPT image tools, you definitely should. If you haven't used Gemini 2.5, you definitely should. If you are using a Mac and you're a little bit of a programmer, give MLX audio a try. I think it's super cool to have native end-to-end audio, audio in, audio out as well. And thank you so much for the guests that we had. We had Morgan, we had Prince, and we had blanking, help. Tulsee, yes, thank you. Tulsee from the Gemini team come and join us. So huge props for all the guests that joined, and most of all, huge props to all of you who tuned in. Listen, we have more than 2,500 views, more than 2,500 folks joined us on the live stream across all our places. If you missed any part of the show, please remember that thursdai.news is a domain, and you can go to that domain, and in the domain there's a YouTube channel. Folks, we're coming very close to 1,000 followers. Please don't forget thursdai.news/YT. If you go there, it will at some point hopefully, news, not that new. Okay, thursdai.news/YT, and will land you directly on the Thursday channel where we have 931 subscribers. We really want to get to 1,000. So please don't forget to subscribe there as well. The show is uploaded there. You'll be able to see the show. But also, if you need any part of the links, we post all of the show notes in the newsletter that I'm going to finish this and run and use Gemini 2.5 to transcribe this whole audio and give us exactly the places where Alex mentioned he'll put something in the notes, for example. It'll give me like all the lists as well. Thank you. A huge thank you for Wolfram, Yam, Niten, and as well as all our guests that joined this week. And we'll see you next week in the hopes that next week is going to be even more insane, though this week was pretty insane. Thank you so much for joining, everyone, and have a good Thursday. And we'll see you here next week. Bye-bye.